Flavius Julius Constans, was born in the year of our Lord 323, into the illustrious Constantinian dynasty. My father, the revered Constantine the Great, was then the reigning emperor of the Roman Empire, and my mother, Fausta, a woman of noble lineage. As the youngest of three brothers, I grew up amidst the grandeur and political intrigue of the imperial court, a world both captivating and perilous. Our family resided in the imperial palace of Nicomedia, a city that bustled with the activities of governance and commerce, where the grandiose architecture and majestic statues stood as testament to Rome's power. From an early age, I was immersed in an environment that demanded intellect, strategy, and resilience. My father, a visionary leader who embraced Christianity, ensured that education was paramount in our upbringing. He believed that a ruler must be well versed not only in the arts of war and governance but also in philosophy, literature, and theology. Thus, my brothers, Constantine II, Constantine II, and I were subjected to rigorous training, both physical and intellectual. One of the most vivid memories of my youth involves the countless hours we spent in the atrium of our palace. It was there that our father implemented the Socratic method of teaching. We would sit on marble benches, surrounded by the scent of blooming roses and the distant murmur of the city's activity, as our tutors drilled us with questions designed to sharpen our reasoning and understanding. "Constans, what is the nature of justice?" my tutor would ask, his voice echoing slightly off the columns of the atrium. "Justice, I believe, is the principle of fairness and the rightful treatment of individuals," I would respond, my youthful voice striving to convey the depth of my understanding. These sessions were more than mere intellectual exercises, they were a preparation for the complexities of rule. My father, ever the pragmatist, would sometimes join these discussions, his imposing presence and sharp mind guiding us through the labyrinthine paths of logic and ethics. In addition to philosophical and theological studies, our education included lessons in Latin and Greek, military tactics, and the administration of the vast territories under Roman control. We learned about the diverse cultures within the empire, the strategies employed by great generals of the past, and the importance of maintaining the delicate balance between strength and benevolence. As I grew older, the lessons became more demanding, reflecting my increasing responsibilities. The tutors, under my father's watchful eye, ensured that we were not only knowledgeable but also disciplined. We engaged in physical training to build our strength and endurance, crucial qualities for any future leader expected to lead armies and protect the empire. Despite the rigors of our education, there were moments of respite. I fondly recall afternoons spent with my brothers, racing horses across the vast fields surrounding Nicomedia or practicing our swordsmanship under the guidance of seasoned veterans. These activities, while enjoyable, also served to fortify the bonds between us, bonds that would later be tested by the weight of empire. My father, Constantine the Great, was a towering figure in our lives. His triumph over his rivals and his unification of the empire under the banner of Christianity were feats that inspired both awe and a sense of duty in us. He often spoke of his vision for a strong, unified Rome, guided by the principles of Christian faith and Roman law. "Remember, my sons," he would say, his voice firm yet paternal, "the empire's strength lies not only in its armies but also in the wisdom and righteousness of its rulers. You must be both warriors and scholars, protectors of the faith and guardians of justice." These words, imparted with a conviction that only a man of his stature could convey, remained etched in my mind. They would become the guiding principles of my life and reign, a reign that would soon be tested by the tumultuous events that awaited us all. The year was 337, the year that marked the end of an era and the beginning of another. My father, Constantine the Great, passed away on the 9th of September, leaving behind a vast empire and a legacy that we, his sons, were now tasked with upholding. It was a moment filled with both sorrow and a profound sense of responsibility. Upon my father's death, the empire was divided among my brothers and me. Each of us adopted the title of Augustus, a reflection of the supreme authority now vested in us. The division of the empire was a strategic decision, designed to ensure that no single ruler would wield too much power, thereby maintaining a balance that my father had worked so hard to establish. I, Constans, was given control over Italy, Africa, and Illyricum, regions rich in culture, resources, and strategic importance. My elder brothers, Constantius II and Constantine II, received their respective territories, and it was clear that the stability of the empire depended on our cooperation and mutual respect. The ceremonies that marked our ascension were grand, yet solemn. We gathered in the imperial palace, where the Senate and high-ranking officials of the empire paid homage to us. The atmosphere was thick with both reverence and anticipation. As the youngest, I felt the weight of expectation, yet I was resolute in my determination to honor my father's legacy. The initial months of my reign were focused on consolidating power and establishing my presence as a capable and just ruler. I traveled extensively throughout my territories, meeting with local governors, military leaders, and the people. It was crucial to gain their loyalty and trust, for an empire is only as strong as the unity between its ruler and subjects. During one such journey, I vividly recall my visit to the city of Rome. The grandeur of the capital, with its majestic forums, towering columns, and the Colosseum, was a sight to behold. As I addressed the gathered crowds from the steps of the Senate House, I could see in their eyes a mixture of hope and curiosity. They sought assurance that the peace and prosperity brought by my father would continue under my rule. "My people," I declared, my voice carrying across the Forum Romanum, "I am here to serve you, to protect our empire, and to uphold the principles of justice and faith that my father instilled in me. Together, we will ensure that Rome remains the beacon of civilization and strength." The applause that followed was both heartening and humbling. It was a moment that reaffirmed my commitment to the immense responsibility I had inherited. However, the harmony between my brothers and me was not to last. In 340, Constantine II, who governed Spain, Gaul, and Britain, grew increasingly dissatisfied with the division of power. Believing that he deserved more territory, he decided to invade my lands in northern Italy. It was a bold and reckless move that threatened the fragile peace within the empire. I was at Naissus, modern-day near Yugoslavia, when I received news of his invasion. The urgency of the situation demanded swift and decisive action. I marshaled my forces and prepared to confront my brother's army. The Battle of Aquileia was fierce and bloody, a tragic conflict between kin. As the dust settled, it became clear that my forces had emerged victorious. Constantine II was killed in the battle, a somber outcome that weighed heavily on my heart. The victory, though significant, was marred by the sorrow of fraternal conflict. With his death, I assumed control over the entire western half of the empire, a consolidation of power that came at a great personal cost. The years that followed were marked by both triumphs and challenges. I successfully defended my territories against external threats, such as the Franks in 341, and made a historic visit to Britain in 343, the last legitimate emperor to do so. These efforts were aimed at reinforcing the strength and unity of the empire, ensuring that the legacy of Constantine the Great endured. Despite the turbulence, I remained steadfast in my duties, driven by the lessons and values imparted by my father. The path ahead was fraught with challenges, but I was determined to navigate them with the wisdom and courage befitting an emperor. My reign, though marked by both triumph and adversity, was guided by a steadfast commitment to the principles of governance, justice, and faith that my father, Constantine the Great, had instilled in me. From the moment I ascended to the throne, my primary focus was on strengthening the empire's defenses, fostering unity among its diverse peoples, and upholding the Christian faith. One of the earliest challenges I faced was the constant threat from external forces. The Germanic tribes, particularly the Franks, were a persistent menace along the northern borders of my realm. In 341, they launched a series of incursions into Roman territory, testing our defenses and the resolve of our legions. Leading my troops personally, I orchestrated a series of military campaigns that repelled these invasions and reasserted Roman dominance in the region. The victories were hard-earned and showcased both the tactical prowess of our armies and the resilience of the Roman spirit. However, military victories alone were not sufficient to ensure the stability of my reign. I recognized the importance of solidifying alliances and fostering loyalty among the various factions within the empire. To this end, I convened numerous councils and assemblies, inviting governors, military commanders, and influential citizens to partake in the governance process. These gatherings served as platforms for discussing pressing issues, enacting policies, and reinforcing the sense of unity and shared purpose. A significant aspect of my reign was my unwavering support for the Christian faith. Following in my father's footsteps, I sought to promote Orthodox Christianity while combating heresies such as Arianism, which posited that Christ was a created being and not co-eternal with God the Father. My support for Athanasius of Alexandria, a staunch defender of Trinitarian Christianity, was well known. Athanasius had faced multiple exiles due to his uncompromising stance against Arianism, and my intervention helped restore him to his rightful position as Bishop of Alexandria. The struggle against Arianism was not merely theological but also political. Many powerful figures within the empire, including some of my own family members, were sympathetic to Arian beliefs. This ideological rift threatened to destabilize the unity of the Church and, by extension, the empire itself. To counter this, I convened councils and issued edicts that reaffirmed the Nicene Creed, ensuring that the orthodox doctrine of the Trinity remained the cornerstone of Christian belief within my territories. In 343, I embarked on a historic visit to Britain, becoming the last legitimate emperor to set foot on the island. The journey was arduous, but the reception from the local population and the stationed legions was overwhelmingly positive. My presence was a powerful symbol of the empire's enduring reach and my commitment to all its provinces. During my stay, I addressed the needs of the local communities, fortified military outposts, and ensured that Roman law and order were upheld. Despite these efforts, internal strife continued to plague the empire. The divisions between my brothers and me had left a lingering tension that opportunistic factions sought to exploit. In 350, the most formidable challenge to my rule emerged in the form of the usurper Magnus Magnentius. A general of considerable skill and ambition, Magnentius rallied significant support, particularly from those dissatisfied with my policies and the concentration of power in my hands. The rebellion of Magnentius was a dire threat that required immediate attention. I mobilized my loyal forces and prepared to confront the usurper. The decisive battle was fought at Autun in Gaul, a confrontation that would determine the fate of my reign. As the clash unfolded, the ferocity and scale of the conflict became apparent. Despite my strategic planning and the valor of my soldiers, the tide of battle turned against us. As I fought on the front lines, rallying my troops and inspiring them with the legacy of Rome, the overwhelming numbers and the betrayal of some within my ranks proved insurmountable. In the heat of battle, amidst the chaos and bloodshed, I met my end. The year was 350, and my death marked the end of a reign dedicated to the preservation and strengthening of the empire. My final moments were a mix of regret and resolve. I had striven to honor my father's legacy and to uphold the ideals of justice, faith, and unity. As the darkness closed in, my thoughts were of the future of the empire and the hope that my efforts had not been in vain. Little did I know, my legacy would endure in ways I could scarcely imagine. The fateful day of my demise, in the year 350, remains etched in my memory, not merely as the end of my reign, but as the culmination of the numerous trials that had defined my rule. Magnus Magnentius, a man of considerable military prowess and ambition, had risen against me, leading a formidable rebellion that sought to usurp the throne and dismantle the unity I had worked tirelessly to maintain. The months leading up to the battle were fraught with tension. Magnus Magnentius had skillfully garnered support, exploiting the discontent among various factions within the empire. His forces grew in strength, and reports of his progress reached my court with increasing frequency. I knew that a decisive confrontation was inevitable, and I prepared myself and my loyal legions for the impending conflict. Our armies clashed at Autun in Gaul, a strategic location that became the backdrop for one of the most significant battles of my reign. The battlefield was a cacophony of clashing swords, the cries of the wounded, and the thunderous charge of cavalry. As I led my troops into battle, I could feel the weight of history upon my shoulders, the legacy of my father, Constantine the Great, and the future of the Roman Empire itself hanging in the balance. Despite our valiant efforts, the tide of battle turned against us. The sheer numbers of Magnentius's forces, bolstered by defectors and those dissatisfied with my rule, overwhelmed my loyal soldiers. As the sun set on that fateful day, it became clear that we were facing insurmountable odds. In the chaos of battle, I fought with every ounce of strength and determination I possessed. My sword cut through the air, striking down enemies, as I urged my men to hold their ground. But the betrayal of some within my ranks and the relentless advance of Magnentius's troops sealed our fate. Surrounded and outnumbered, my defenses crumbled. In the final moments, I found myself isolated, a small contingent of loyal guards by my side. The air was thick with the acrid smell of smoke and blood, the ground littered with the fallen. As I gazed upon the scene, a sense of sorrow washed over me. This was not how I had envisioned the end of my reign. The ideals of justice, unity, and faith that I had strived to uphold seemed distant and fragile in the face of such brutal reality. It was then that I felt a sharp pain, the cold steel of an enemy's blade piercing my side. I fell to the ground, the world around me growing dim. My guards fought valiantly to protect me, but it was clear that the end had come. As I lay there, the sounds of battle fading, my thoughts turned to my father, Constantine the Great, and the dreams he had for the empire. In those final moments, I prayed. I prayed for the strength to accept my fate, for the well-being of my people, and for the preservation of the ideals that had guided my life. The darkness closed in, and I knew that my time had come. My death at Autun was not just the end of my life but a significant turning point for the Roman Empire. Magnus Magnentius emerged victorious, his rebellion having succeeded in toppling my reign. The power struggles that ensued in the wake of my demise further destabilized the empire, leading to years of turmoil and conflict. As I breathed my last, I hoped that my efforts had not been in vain, that the seeds of unity and faith I had planted would one day flourish once more. Though my life was cut short, I believed in the enduring spirit of Rome and the resilience of its people. My death was but a chapter in the long and storied history of the empire, a history that would continue to unfold, shaped by the legacies of those who came before and those who would come after. My life and reign, though cut short by the tumult of rebellion and the treachery of Magnus Magnentius, left an indelible mark on the Roman Empire. The years following my death were fraught with challenges, but the principles I upheld and the actions I took during my time as emperor reverberated through history, shaping the future in ways both subtle and profound. One of the most enduring aspects of my legacy is my unwavering support for Orthodox Christianity. In an era marked by theological disputes and the rise of heresies, my staunch defense of the Nicene Creed helped to solidify the foundation of what would become mainstream Christian doctrine. By supporting figures like Athanasius of Alexandria, I ensured that the Trinitarian belief in the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit remained central to Christian faith. This theological clarity provided a unifying framework for the Christian community, fostering a sense of unity and purpose that would prove crucial in the centuries to come. The decisions made during my reign regarding the Church's structure and its relationship with the state set precedents that influenced the development of Christendom. By reinforcing the role of the emperor as a protector of the faith, I contributed to the intertwining of religious and political authority, a legacy that would persist in the Byzantine Empire and beyond. This alignment of church and state not only strengthened the position of the church within society but also helped to stabilize the empire during times of internal and external threats. Militarily, My campaigns against the Franks and other Germanic tribes, though often overshadowed by the civil conflicts within the empire, demonstrated the importance of a strong and vigilant defense along Rome's borders. The strategies and fortifications established during my reign provided a temporary bulwark against invasions, buying precious time for the empire to regroup and re-strategize in the face of mounting pressures from beyond its frontiers. The civil war with my brother Constantine II, though tragic, highlighted the complexities and dangers of divided rule within a vast empire. My victory at Aquileia and the subsequent consolidation of power in the West underscored the necessity of centralized authority to maintain stability. While my death at the hands of Magnentius brought about further upheaval, the lessons learned from these internecine conflicts were not lost on future emperors. The need for a clear line of succession and the dangers of fraternal rivalry became starkly evident, influencing the governance strategies of my successors. My visit to Britain, though a brief chapter in my reign, carried symbolic weight. By being the last legitimate emperor to set foot on the island, I reaffirmed Rome's commitment to its distant provinces. This act of leadership left a lasting impression on the local populace and military garrisons, reinforcing their loyalty to the empire. The echoes of my presence in Britain would be felt long after my departure, as stories of my visit became part of the lore and legend that sustained Roman influence in the region. Despite the brevity of my reign, my efforts to foster unity, uphold justice, and protect the faith left a legacy of resilience. The turmoil that followed my death, while destabilizing in the short term, ultimately underscored the importance of the principles I championed. My successors, facing the same pressures and threats, drew upon the example set during my reign as they navigated the challenges of leadership in a fractured and tumultuous world. In the annals of history, my name, Flavius Julius Constans, may not shine as brightly as those of some of my more illustrious predecessors and successors. Yet, the impact of my reign endures in the continued influence of Orthodox Christianity, the lessons learned from civil strife, and the unwavering commitment to the ideals of unity and justice. My life, though marked by both triumph and tragedy, contributed to the enduring legacy of the Roman Empire, a legacy that would shape the course of Western civilization for centuries to come. Thank you for watching. Our channel, known as the Renaissance Spirit, is dedicated to the pursuits of a just, equitable, and humanitarian world. Video topics encompass areas including history, politics, religion, personal development, society, culture, social and environmental justice, and other topics of liberal arts and sciences, including ancient Rome and the Roman Empire, which is a great comparison and contrast of the modern world. Topics perfect for the true modern polymath. The Renaissance ushered in a golden age and the pursuit of knowledge both lost to time and yet to be discovered. It gave birth to the Enlightenment and the Age of Reason. Embracing truth, knowledge, and an understanding and compassion for humanity and our shared history opens up the world to each of us, individually, and improves all of humanity, affording us the opportunity to be better stewards of the earth and to each other. The Renaissance spirit, more than just a philosophy or style, but a style for living, learning, growing and thinking. Please subscribe, turn on notifications, and share. If you're looking to explore and experience what life has to offer, I'm sure you'll enjoy the other videos on my channel. Please peruse, and let me know in the comments what you get out of them and what other videos you'd like to see. But first, please take the quiz next to see if you're a Renaissance spirit. Live the Renaissance spirit.